I just put 400 rounds to the Taurus G3, and I'm not gonna lie, this one surprised me. I was expecting it to be good, but not this good. Let's get into it. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Tactical Twiggy here on GWC, where we go over real reviews, real training, and real discipline, no fluff. Today we're gonna be talking about the Taurus G3, so let's get right into it. Alright guys, so this is a Taurus G3 budget-friendly striker-fired polymer frame, right? Nothing crazy on paper. It does come with two 17-round mags, so that's a plus. This is one of those guns where you're looking at it and you pick it up and you think, all right, let's see what it actually does. For YouTube's sake, it is cleared, right? There's no ammo in the magazine, right? So I did put 400 rounds through this, right? I had one malfunction out of those 400 rounds and it was a failure to feed. 1 out of 400, I think that's a pretty good ratio if you ask me. The recoil on this bad boy, it really wasn't that bad. I thought being that it's polymer frame, it was gonna have a little bit more snap to it. But in actuality, it was very balanced. I feel like the metal slide or the heavier slide played a very big factor in recoil management within the Taurus G3. Accuracy, let's go over accuracy, right? So accuracy was very solid with this weapon system. I was very surprised. We were shooting steel targets because at the range that we were at, we only had steel targets. We weren't able to put up paper targets. But from 10 to 25 meters, my wife and I were hitting targets very consistently. And I'm normally not really good at shooting pistol. I'm just gonna be completely honest, right? Now, like I said, it was steel target, so we weren't really able to check our groupings when it comes to that sort. So I don't know how tight the groupings actually were, but then ultimately that can also come down onto the shooter as well, right? But for overall purpose, you were able to shoot steel from anywhere from 10 to 25 meters very, very consistently out of those 17 rounds in the 17 round mag, right? Now, when we're talking about the Taurus G3, right? The trigger really stood out to me, right? So once again, right, we cleared, no magazine, no ammo in there. There is a very long take up when you get to there. So if you see here, right, pull down on the trigger, this is the wall right here, okay? So I have to pull all this to get to the wall and then it fires, right? But being that it's so far, when I go to reset, the reset's right there. So now, yes, it does have a long take up, but every action within that trigger was very smooth. So I was very surprised with that. Normally when you find these budget guns, they're a little clunky. They'll go here, then here, then here. But the take up it's smooth the entire time, all the way through, and then all the way through when you go to when you hit that wall, and then when you actually pull the trigger. Then when you go to reset, very short reset, and then smooth as butter once again. So the biggest surprise for me about this gun, in the price range that it was, I believe the price range is around $241, depending on where you're at. You can get it around for $240 to around $270, I'm sure. Was the smoothness of this weapon system, right? Everything about this gun was smooth. From right here, no rounds in the magazine, YouTube. From putting the ejection of the actual magazines, look how smooth that action is, right? To the slide being super smooth. This is not lubed up. This gun is not lubed up at all. Anytime I do these reviews, I do it from right out of the box, right? As soon as you get it. As soon as you get it, you go to the range and you shoot these weapon systems, right? So there's no CLP, there's no any type of lube on this other than what they packed it with, right? From the packing grease. So to have a slide that smooth right out the box for $240, that's something that you can't beat. And then ultimately, like how I talked about earlier, right? The trigger with it being smooth all the way through for $240. You can't beat that. All right, so one thing that I did fail to mention is the ergonomics, right? So the ergonomics on this weapon, if you could see, right, the grip on here, it's almost like a skateboard grip. So it definitely felt really good. Not too aggressive, but just aggressive enough to where when you're shooting and it recoils, it helps out with that grip as well. Now we look at the slides, lacerations. Once again, not too aggressive, but just aggressive, just the perfect look to give it that nice aggressiveness, right? Not overly aggressive, but just something to give it that kind of mean look. And then we have a rail here to where you can mount, your lights and whatnot. So once again, when we go over the ergonomics on this gun, I very much enjoy it. So now we're going to get into the pros and cons, right? On the pro side, we have 4 things that I want to talk about, okay? So what I want to talk about is overall reliability, okay? So out of 400 rounds, I got 1 malfunction. Now, I know that may sound bad. That might sound horrible. You know, there's other people who talk about, you know, I spent this much. You might as well spend this much on a gun. You get no malfunctions. At the end of the day, right? Like, we're looking at how this connects to just the regular casual shooter. And so for $241 is what I paid for it here in Georgia. You can't beat 1 malfunction out of 400 rounds. And at that point, being that it was a failure to feed, that could have been on me, not pushing the magazine all the way up, right? Limp wristing the gun or what have you, touching this, holding onto the slide, putting too much pressure on the slide with my thumb. At the end of the day, that could have been a multitude of variables, but 1 out of 400 is a very good ratio for a budget gun. So my third point I wanted to hit when it comes to the pros is functionality. Overall, there's nothing bad that I can say about the functionality with this weapon. As you guys heard, right? As I said earlier, everything was smooth when it came to this weapon, from the slide to the trigger through to the releasing of the mags, ejecting of the rounds. Everything was smooth, right, when it came to this weapon system, which brings me into my last point, my last pro: accuracy. Being that everything was so smooth, that it helped with not much pressure when it came to the trigger. I don't have a pressure measure for the trigger, so I can't tell you, but it doesn't feel too heavy at all. That helped with the accuracy, right? So the accuracy, once again, is something that I would love to hit on. Being that the sights are very basic, like I said, if you're going to use this as your duty or your everyday carry, or like your training gun, the only thing I would say about the accuracy is that you upgrade the iron sights, because they are very basic. Accuracy is definitely a pro here, right? Next, we're gonna go over the cons. Okay, so now as you guys can see that I've been building up this weapon system, you're gonna think that he has to have some cons. In reality, I don't have much cons to say or anything bad to say about this weapon system. If I wanted to be nitpicky and there's things that I wanted to choose from, I would just say that the long trigger pull is something that's kind of like, you know, you're sitting there and you're waiting, and then, oh, okay, now I hit the wall, and your finger is damn near closed already. Like, your fist is damn near closed when you're pulling the trigger. That's the only thing that I could say about that. And then the one small gripe, I guess I could say, or complaint that I could say, is just, you know, how basic the iron sights are. But that's being nitpicky. All right, guys, so I haven't done a gun review in a while, right? But if you are new here, we rate everything on the tactical meter from 1 to 10. So without further ado, let's get it started. Drum roll, please. I'm just kidding. But on a tactical meter, right, the Taurus G3 gets a solid 9.5 out of 10, right? And the reason being I give it a 9.5 is just because of those 2 cons that I said. It's very hard to get a 10 out of 10 on the tactical meter. But ultimately for $241, a 9.5 out of 10 is surpassing you know, its expectations. My recommendation, right? Because that's really what we're here for, is recommendations. Should you spend your hard-earned American dollars on this weapon system? I give it a thumbs up. I definitely do. I feel like the Taurus G3 is definitely making a comeback. You know, they had a bad reputation, but at the end of the day, I feel like they're making a comeback. But at the end of the day, right, a $300 train hands, man, is way better than a $1,000 gun, right, in untrained hands. So once again, y'all know the motto: train, stay disciplined, and stay ready. And before we get out of here, I just want to, you know, talk to you guys real to real, right? And let you guys know that if you're ever feeling alone, if you're ever feeling by yourself or anything like that, like don't ever think that you have to go through this alone, right? You have a friend in me. And ultimately, man, Jesus loves you, right? He's always there with you. He's just waiting for you to reach out to him. So if you ever need someone to talk to, if you ever need, a prayer or anything like that, my business email is in the description. You can message here on, in the comment section. If you don't want to do that, my socials will be linked to my YouTube page, and you can hit me up there and I'll answer you. So just please, guys, understand that you are loved, right? And you matter in this world. This is your boy Tactical Twiggy here on GWC. Like and hit that subscribe button so that way you know when we drop another video. We're out. Jesus loves you.
Do you like honey? You like the Taurus? Is your favorite one?